I'm here with Dr. Kevin Danaher, described by the New York Times as the Paul Revere of globalization woes. Dr. Danaher is a founder and an executive producer of the Green Festival's two-day events, bringing together tens of thousands of attendees hungry for a transition to the green economy. He is also the executive director of the Global Citizen Center, which he calls a permanent green festival. Dr. Danaher has published numerous articles and is the author and/or editor of 12 books, including his latest, Building the Green Economy: Success Stories from Grassroots. Dr. Danaher received his doctorate in sociology from the University of California at Santa Cruz in 1982. As part of the We Salute You series of conversations, I'm going to be talking to Dr. Danaher today on a host of topics that give us insights into his experience, the initiatives he has been a part of, and their outcomes, as well as his opinions and thoughts on sustainability. So, let's begin. Good evening, Kevin, and thank you for this opportunity to interview.
My pleasure. I never met a camera or microphone I didn't like.
Wonderful. So, Kevin, can you briefly tell us what got you to embrace sustainability and what has motivated you along the way?
Well, I was writing books and articles and doing activism about what was wrong with the global economy. I wrote books about the World Bank, the International Monetary Fund, the World Trade Organization, transnational corporations. And I had a doctoral dissertation advisor who used to force me to summarize my dissertation in 100 words or less, and then 80 words or less, 60 words or less. And it was a dissertation, almost 700 pages, about U.S. foreign policy. And he got me down to a two-word sentence: they lie. But then the question is, well, why does the U.S. government lie to its own people about its foreign policy? So I had gotten into this sort of modus operandi of trying to squeeze down what's the essence of what I'm working on. So I said, okay, if the problem is transnational corporations, what is essentially the problem? They're not rooted in place. They will move anywhere on the planet to increase their profits. They're not democratically organized. It's very hierarchical. It's a dictatorship. And they're not green. They systematically destroy the environment. A 2,000-year-old redwood tree is not a gift of the creator to be preserved for future generations. It's $250,000 worth of lumber on the lumber market, so you kill it. And if your business model is based on killing nature, a fish swimming has no value, it's only when you kill it and turn it into a marketable commodity, you will destroy the natural basis of human existence, which is what's going on. The natural resource base is being depleted. Peak oil, peak water, peak everything. There's actually a book by Richard Heinberg, Peak Everything. So I got to a point where I realized, wait, I've been describing the problem and encouraging activism to fix it, but I haven't really focused on what's the alternative system look like. So if the main problem institution is not locally rooted and not green and not democratic, then the opposite of that is the local green economy with local control and local ownership and participatory ownership. So I started focusing on the green economy, which I didn't know much about, and that's what led to the Green Festival and the real estate model of Green Mart and Global Citizen Center.
Okay, wonderful. So that's coming a long way from your PhD dissertation and trying to size it up into chunks to actually figuring out alternatives as to what the solutions ought to be, and more so in the local scope rather than the global scope. Now, with that in mind, can you tell our audience what Global Exchange, which you also founded, what does that do?
Yeah, we started back in 1988, and there were three of us: Medea Benjamin, Kirsten Moeller, and myself. And each of us had experienced a transformation personally by visiting. In my case, it was Africa and Latin America. The other two people had traveled around the world and seen incredible suffering, incredible injustice, juxtaposed to the affluence and waste here in the United States. We Americans are 4% of the world's population, consuming 25% of the world's resources, 865 military bases outside our borders, all this crazy waste. So we were moved initially by a sort of moral, ethical, spiritual sense of this is wrong and this is unjust and we've got to do something to fix it. And who's better situated to fix it than U.S. citizens. We at least have access to, voting and things like that, whereas the people who are the victims in the global South, what can they do? So we said the main problem is the ignorance of the American people. Here you have the most powerful country in the world ever in terms of global influence, and yet the American people are very ignorant about global affairs. We did a thing when the first Gulf War was happening where we had a map, a blank map with just the boundaries of the Middle East, but no names of countries. And we went around asking people to find Iraq on a map, and they couldn't find it. And we were saying, we're bombing people, we're killing people in that country, and you can't find it? Your taxpayer money is paying for the bombs and the troops and everything, and you can't find it on it. That's a serious disjuncture. It's like if you came to a house with a lot of people and there was a little child with a loaded gun. It's way too much power in the hands of someone who doesn't understand the impact of that power. So we had worked previously, all of us had worked in organizations that did education work, publishing books, pamphlets, flyers, slideshows, and we felt that wasn't enough. It was good, but not enough. So we said, okay, let's create an organization that, yes, we'll publish educational materials, but let's take people on reality tours to other countries where they see grassroots issues and listen to grassroots people and see development projects and literacy campaigns and women's groups and opposition political parties and protest groups and get a sense of the complexity that's out there. And it is complex, but you can understand it. There's we become brain surgeons. That's complex, and we managed to do that. So we also wanted to do fair trade, and some friends of ours had a store here in San Francisco that was going out of business. They offered to sell us their fair trade store. We took that over. We built it up. Then we did one in Berkeley. We did one in Portland. We've done two in Washington, D.C. Then we developed a wholesale operation. We developed an online fair trade store. And that fair trade component is part of a different kind of global economy where, because of the inequality, we can tax the rich just a small amount, transfer it to the poor. It's a small amount for us, but it's a huge increase for them. And it gets into people's heads, look, it's not just this commodity that you're buying. There's a whole backstory of the people who produced it. So you've got a candle holder that's made in Kenya, but then you've got the story of the handicapped youth group that produced that candle holder. So it's really two products, which gives us an advantage in the marketplace with intelligent consumers. So we started to evolve not only a diverse structure of fair trade, reality tours, book publishing, bringing in foreign speakers, producing events. For 14 years we did Reggae in the Park, music event, with lots of different people all, dancing to good music, but then in between the music acts, some information about what's going on in Jamaica, what's going on in Haiti, and these places where the music comes from. Because we realize that with diverse tactics, you reach a broader sector of the population. A lot of people are not going to read a book, especially a serious book. So by doing all these different tactics, we reach more people. And also we used mostly an enterprise model. We were so radical and sure of our beliefs that we weren't worried about somebody, oh, you're a capitalist, you're using enterprise. What we wanted to do was redefine enterprise in a triple bottom line direction. Yes, financial sustainability, but environmental restoration and social justice, all blended values together so that you get away from this simple financial bottom line of make money and get rich and, die as a philanthropist kind of thing.
Very well put, and you spoke about a lot of things in there. Couple of things I wanted to focus or double click on a little bit more. You mentioned fair trade stores. So can you expand on that a little bit more as to what qualifies to be a fair trade store? And then within the realm of, the folks who are, say, in the Valley even, working their 9-to-5 jobs, where can they go consume some of these products which are made from fair trade stores?
Well, the best place to go is globalexchangestore.org. The globalexchangestore.org is our online store where you not only get the products and you can purchase all these beautiful products, but you also get the story about the producer groups. And how they organize themselves and what role women play and what's the impact on the environment and all of that. But there's basically two pieces of the fair trade movement. One is fair trade certification, and it says fair trade certified, and it's an emblem that's got a stick figure holding scales of justice, and it says fair trade certified. Any company can say fair trade on their product, but if it doesn't have that fair trade certified seal, then it hasn't had a third party nonprofit investigator check out, does it really meet the fair trade criteria? And actually, I was the first chairman of the board of Transfair USA, which is now called Fair Trade USA, and that's their website, or transfairusa.org will get you to that site. So that's certification, and that's things like coffee and tea and cocoa and orange juice and bananas and a whole bunch of agricultural commodities. And that's a certification process that now is globally, it's in the billions of dollars, hundreds of millions for the US, and it keeps growing. The incline is great. And basically what it does is it sets a floor price for these commodities. So for coffee, it's probably about $1.24 a pound. There's been times where in some places in the world, coffee producers are getting 10 cents a pound. So it creates a floor price so that the farmers know at planting time, at harvest, I know what price I'm going to get. And that's revolutionary in itself, because most farmers are victimized by the fact that at planting, they don't know what the price is going to be at harvest, and whether you're going to make money and be okay, or your children are going to go hungry. So what it does, if you look at coffee, for example, if you're buying fair trade coffee in a cafe, it's maybe costing you a penny or two more per cup. It's an amount of money you wouldn't pick up off the sidewalk. It's insignificant to us as a percentage of the cost of that coffee. But when that's transferred to the farmers in the global south, it's about a 200 to 300% increase in their income. They get tracked to see, are you investing in schools and clinics, and it's a different development model. So because of global inequality, we can extract small amounts of money out of consumers here, transfer it to farmers in the global south, and it's a huge increase in their income. The other section of the fair trade movement is what is in our stores and in our online store, which tends to be craft items, clothing and candle holders and pottery and all these different products that are made by grassroots groups. The fair trade movement in terms of certification has not gotten to that point yet, because it's very hard to certify this little group of 5 women and this little group over here, whatever. We do that individually as an organization. We go and visit these places, or we buy from organizations that we know someone else has checked out to check their politics, because we don't want to be just supporting anybody. And with our reality tours, we can take people from America to those places and meet those producer groups. So there's a nice little overlap between the two programs. And this is about getting people to feel responsible. When you buy a commodity, you should want to know, did these workers get treated right? In one of our books, Insurrection, this book, we have a chapter about sweatshops, and we titled the chapter, Would You Let Your Sister Work There? Well, these women are our sisters in the spiritual sense, and we need to be thinking more along those lines. How do we become each other's brother and sister and treat each other accordingly?